appreciate you talking to me about this. This show is quite the wild ride.
Yes.
I'm curious, when the opportunity to be a part of this project came your way and you hear that it's a TV version of I Know What You Did Last Summer, what was your reaction? Did you immediately have questions? Had you been familiar with the movies?
I was a big fan of the original movie from the 90s. And yeah, of course, I had lots of questions. I remember reading the pilot for the first time and kind of went in with the blank slate, like, not really expecting anything or not knowing what to expect, I guess more so. And I just loved how they took so much of the charm from the original, but also created something completely new on top of that. Also, our story does start the same way, with a fatal car crash, a cover up, and a killer who will literally stop at nothing to horrify us all. But at the same time, it's a fresh take, and our story is very character driven. I loved how layered and complex all the characters were. And really, it's more than just a bunch of teens running away from a killer. It's everyone has a secret. Everyone's guilty. No one's really innocent. And so that kind of gets uncovered, through every single episode.
How personally just sort of challenging and upsetting is it to have like that nameless, faceless boogeyman, at least until you know more about what's going on? Is it kind of terrifying to not know, like, the figure in the dark?
Yeah, it's interesting. That was one of the things from the beginning, though, the entire cast we were trying to figure out, because I think we got the first 4 episodes from the beginning. So we didn't know what the rest of the show looked like. So we're all, trying to make decisions that impact our characters throughout the rest of the show and kind of blindly doing so. But we had bets on set trying to figure out like how this thing was going to end. And I will say that every single one of us was wrong except for one person. But I was completely wrong. I had no idea. I was way off. I thought I'd had it too.
How do you personally feel about this whole idea of reboots and remakes and reimaginings? Is it something that you find yourself interested? Do you normally shy away from watching them? Does it sort of depend on what the property is?
It's like mixed feelings, because it's so awesome to be a part of something that people loved so much in the beginning. And I think it also pays tribute to the fact of like letting them live on for different generations and in this way where you can reinvent it in some way. I find myself doing quite a bit of reboots or sequels. That was accidental, but somehow like Jumanji, Goosebumps, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, I'm still here. But for me though, I fall in love with things that already came out. So to be a part of something that is already so iconic, it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it's really exciting because it had such an impact on me personally.
Yeah, and it must be freeing because the way that this is approaching it, just taking the idea and then sort of deviating from there, you're not playing the same characters, so you don't have to feel like you have that to live up to.
Yes, yeah, because that's a whole nother thing when you're fully recreating something. And that can be a whole lot scarier. At least as we're like making a whole new world within their circumstances.
What was your reaction to the idea of playing twins? What most excited you about that? What made you most nervous about that?
So much. I feel like it's every actor's, it's always on their bucket list. Rarely do you ever get the opportunity.
Yeah.
To play twins, if you ever do. So I was definitely up for the challenge. And I think the scariest thing for me was when you first meet these twins, it's right in the middle of this grad night. So there's a lot of pressure on like making and selling them as twins and kind of like building this backstory of everything that happened before that. Their mother committed suicide when they were little girls, and sort of just how Allison has always felt in the shadow of her sister, and like really doing the background on that to make sure all of that came through on screen. Also, the technical side of twins was very interesting. I knew it was going to be a challenge, but it's definitely time consuming, because you're doing double of everything. And I think all of my heaviest dialogued scenes were all with my twin. So it was a lot of work.
Obviously, anything spoilery, I will keep till after it's a spoiler. What's it like to not only develop 2 separate characters and figure out who they are and why they are the way they are, but to then explore them in flashbacks, to explore them at different times in their lives, and then to figure out, when one is living as the other, how you layer that onto it. I mean, it just seems like so many complications.
It is. It's a lot. And it is a show about people wearing many different hats, you know, and it's not just Allison. It is many different characters, and everyone has a secret, and they all slowly become revealed throughout the entire series. But I mean, it's definitely, there's so much happening at the same moment that it is sometimes hard to keep your head on straight with like where you are in a specific scene. But I mean, we have an amazing showrunner, Sara Goodman, who definitely helped us keep on track and just worked with so many great people. But, you know, storytelling sometimes is easy and sometimes comes with a challenge, but I always enjoy a challenge. I think it's fun.
You have a pretty large ensemble of actors that you get to work with in this. What's it like to have this big group to work with, but to then also know that you're going to lose some of them when they're gruesomely murdered?
You know, I think we all knew what we were signing up for.
It's still, you know, the reality is still something else.
Yeah. And it's exciting at the same time. And they're all so great and so talented. We had so much fun every single day. I'm a huge horror movie fan, so like this was so fun for me. But yeah, no, we definitely knew what we were signing up for. I think when we all first met, because we all got the first 4 episodes and we were like, all right, we don't know what's happening after this. Like, we got to buckle up and just get ready for anything.
Is it ever just, do you ever laugh when you're filming a scene that's just horribly gruesome? I mean, it seems like it's kind of, when you think about how, you know, it's all make-believe, it must get a little silly too.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And also, you know, we're doing night shoots and we are all losing our minds at 3 a.m. So yeah, when someone is dying, won't say who, at 3 a.m. and everyone's sleep exhausted, it definitely can get a little silly. But, you know, our editors are amazing and they make it look scary. And sometimes we're actually like, we were deathly afraid. We worked in a couple locations that I'm pretty sure were haunted. So those are pretty spooky. But then even, you know, the scene of our car crash, like that was a pretty emotional, several nights we filmed that. And yeah, like that was totally different. You know, it was nice to kind of have each other there to kind of help support and lean on each other, because those were 2 very long nights.
This is a show that also has a lot of adult content, and Lennon in particular seems to be right at the center of most of the things that happen in that sense, whether it's drugs or using sex or however she can manipulate somebody. What's it been like to take on that kind of material? Are there always conversations about what it will look like and why she's doing what she's doing?
I mean, there's conversation from the very beginning, even just from the words on the paper, you know, and like what exactly we want, what we want it to look like, what we want people to feel from it, you know. I mean, it's interesting because every character and the decisions they make, you know, there are consequences that come even throughout, you know, towards the end of the entire series. So especially someone like Lennon, who does purposely manipulate people through these things. I mean, it was a little scary for me because she is a bold character and I'm kind of the complete opposite. So I had to tap into something inside of me, you know, to kind of go there. But, you know, it was something as far as like the intimate scenes, and it's always something I've wanted to do. And especially in that way, like it was fun, you know, I tried to find the fun in it, because at the end of the day, it's an entertaining show, and I felt so comfortable and safe, and everyone was just so great.
And there was definitely, at least so far from what I've seen, always a story reason.
Mm-hmm. Yes, always. I mean, everything we do is for a reason. Every decision someone makes is always revealed later on why they did that. Or, you know, each episode, you kind of get a glimpse into each character's perspective of that night. So when you see something in the first episode, that moment might come back 5 episodes later and it will all make sense. You're like, oh, okay, that's what happened and why that person did that. So our whole show is kind of like a giant puzzle. And then finally, by the end, you'll have all the pieces.
The father-daughter relationship plays a big role in this story too. And it's such an interesting dynamic because clearly their relationship was strained. There was a lot of tension there. And now she's in this weird position and he knows at least more than most other people what's going on. So how important is that relationship, especially, you know, taking all that into consideration? What was that like to explore? Because I don't think we've seen too many father-daughter relationships like that.
And Bill Heck, he's the greatest. I love that man. He was my rock, the kind of this whole time filming. We had a lot of heavy scenes together. And he takes a lot of that load, his character goes through it. But it's interesting, and without spoiling too much, the thing that happens. And so they're kind of forced to have each other, and they both lost something that was so important to them. And then Allison is kind of forced to face this relationship with her father that I think she was, she avoided for so long. And then there's this show is so hard to talk about. Then there's things that come up. But they have a very interesting relationship. And I think her dad really does love her, but I don't know if Allison will ever believe it. I don't think she'll believe anyone ever fully loves her because she doesn't love herself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's so interesting, because there's so many emotional levels going on with all of these people.
Lots of emotion. All of these people. Lots of love triangles, lots of emotions.
You talked about guessing and guessing wrong. What was your reaction when you actually found out the answers? Once you knew what was happening, what was your first response?
I think I was in shock. But then after I took a second to process, it all made sense. The show is giving you all the pieces to put it together yourself. It's also giving you lots of pieces and misleads, and you will get lost because there's literally no way you could, unless you're just really good. And I'll be very impressed if some people are able to put this together with the first 4 episodes. But it's not like we hide it from you. It's there. It's there the whole time. It's just a matter of if you can put it together or not.
You said there was one of you that guessed right. Did they have a logical reason for guessing the way they guessed, or was it just a random guess and they just got lucky?
I would tell you who it was, but I think that would give it away. They are very smart. That's
so
all.
There was a logic for their conclusion.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the ending makes sense. It does. But then also, and you will find out the more episodes you go through, is there are many, many secrets that are revealed throughout every single one. So it's not just the big finale of the end. Everyone is guilty of something.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I've watched horror movies with friends where they'll guess somebody and it's just they randomly guess and then they just accidentally are right. So that's why I was curious.
This person very much put it together.
Well, since this is a show that loses cast members and characters are killed off, have there been conversations about how the show could continue in other seasons? Do you know what the next steps in the story would be?
Well, you'd have to see if I made it. If multiple me makes it. But I mean, of course, everyone wants the show to do really well. And Sara is a mastermind, so I'm sure she has something in the works of what she would like to do for a second season. But who knows who will be live?
It's funny because I watched them are we going to then be following some neighbor kid we didn't know existed because they'll be the only one left standing at the end?
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I will say our show goes, it gets pretty crazy. Have you seen 1 through 4?
Yeah.
Okay. So after 4 too, it gets pretty nuts.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it's a wild ride watching the show. I mean, every time I thought I knew what was happening and then it threw another curveball. And I tend to be somewhat good with guessing where things are going. And this show definitely kept me on my toes.
Do you have any idea?
Not at the moment. I don't, because every time I think I have an idea, that person ends up dead or something happens.
That usually happens in our show. Yeah.
Well, I enjoy that very much. It's so much fun because it feels like it's so easy to see things coming. And I love it when you can't. So I definitely appreciate you talking to me about it. And I can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited for you to see more. We'll see if your final guess is the right one.
I'm sure it won't be, but I'll keep a notebook so that I can prove it to somebody if it is.
But
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you.